I'm Trish. I am a early childhood special educator.
And how long have you been doing that?
Well, I've been an early childhood educator for about 40 years. I've been doing this special ed as a special educator for about 20 years. So my experience has been with children 3 through 6, ages 3 through 6.
And what has that experience been like living through 2020, through this pandemic as an educator and in a special ed capacity? Let's talk about that a little bit.
Yeah, it has been dramatically changed. I mean, it has been very challenging. There has been some silver linings too from all of this, but mostly it's been a challenge. The trying to keep everybody safe and healthy is the main objective, and to do that in a early childhood environment with kids that are so young, it's been quite challenging. So initially it was last year, almost a year ago, that we closed the school and we went remote, and that was a challenge. It was a challenge to meet the needs of our special education students when they were home and we were trying to teach remotely. So we were clever. We had to be creative. We had to do a lot of extra paperwork and looking at the laws and legally what we need to do to meet the needs of these children. And also to try to engage the students remotely. So last spring, that was a remote time. And so we didn't have much time to prepare. We needed to plan and bring stuff home and grab what we could and then teach remotely. So along with that was the challenge of the technology and learning the technology to try to get these Zooms and meetings going. All our meetings were remote and all the teaching was remote. So it was quite challenging, but we made it through. And, really, I think what was really positive about it, because you do want to look at during these times what was positive.
The silver linings.
The silver lining, exactly. And we work together with families. So teachers and educators and myself working with my families that I had and the parents of my students, we all had to work together to make it work for these kids. And we know that when you're engaging families into the education and getting them involved, it's better for the students. So it was a universal effort. So that was the spring. And then that actually went through to the summer. I was also teaching the summer school in a remote setting, getting a little bit better at the technology at that point, getting a little bit of equipment so that I could engage the kids better with a DocuCam, and just the experience of teaching remotely. So that was a little bit better over the summer.
So as the landscape has shifted for education, with several decades under your belt, what did that feel like for you, just coming home at the end of the day, at the end of a long week? How are you feeling?
I felt, you mean as far as the last year being remote, or?
Well, initially the transition, and then once it became, once you're saying you got to summer, you hit your stride. How would you contrast that first moment of transition to how you feel today?
So what I'm feeling is a real lack last year of connection when you're not with the kids in the building all the time. So it was when you have kids that for one reason or another are not able to join your classroom online or participate, I feel a loss. And coming back into the building when we did last fall, as much as that was really difficult to think about how are we going to keep everybody safe, and how are we going to be also meeting their needs socially and emotionally, with and having to be at a distance with them and keep everybody at a distance from each other when there are little children who want to be right hugging you and in your face and in each other's faces, and relating and playing together. And that's such a big part of our curriculum, is playing together. So that as much as that was a big challenge, it was really felt wonderful to be able to be seeing them in person, and you know, and it was we had to get creative. You know, I had to be creative about how I can make it fun and not make it scary for them. But yet we are back together again, and that was really important. And so I came up with some strategies, and the children did wonderfully, and it felt just really, really good to be able to be teaching again in person. And
what were some of your favorite memories from that process of, you know, starting at this sort of place of loss where you can't be with the kids, they can't be with each other, to then saying, okay, we're going to make this happen, and then coming up with the strategies to do this, and then reintegrating with them? What are some of your favorite memories of that freedom of being back together?
Well, I think that the favorite memory is that they were back together again, and that they were able to see their friends and be social. And we, like you say, we worked it out, and the strategies we were able to keep everybody safe. We had special equipment, we had special ways of having them walk through the classroom or be in the classroom, and we redesigned the classroom a little bit, but they were able to still share. We worked out how we can play games and take turns, and all those skills that we want to work on. And there was just some shifts that we had to make in how we did things, and how we had to have smaller groups of kids, and not everybody together. And I think what the favorite thing was, I have to say, again, a silver lining, was that we did so much outdoor education. And we started outside, or spent all the time we could outside. We had a beautiful fall. We were very lucky. I think everyone knows that we were so lucky to have such good weather in the fall. And it forced us outside to think about what can we do outside. And sure, we had to, you know, bring things in and bring things out, but the kids helped with that. It gave them extra jobs. We shifted from indoors to outdoors in the fall, and that was an eye-opener. And I'm doing things that I didn't think of doing before, that I'll continue now. And we can do more teaching outside, and it forced us to think about that. And so I think that was probably a favorite thing.
What do you think the biggest change that you've seen in education in the past year has been for you personally in your experience?
I would say that was the biggest change, was that because it wasn't just my classroom, but I'm in an elementary school, so grades K through 4 as well. Everybody was outside, and to see the kids spread over on the hill, and I'm lucky enough to be in the country and in this beautiful setting where we have woods and trails and grass and hills, and to see kids just spread out on their hill, having a circle or having lessons or doing work. And there wasn't any part of our day or curriculum that we couldn't do outside. And so it wasn't just my classroom, it was the whole school doing things. And we were able to see older kids doing things outside. So there was just a real sense of, we can do this, we can be safe. We have a beautiful environment to do it in. And so I felt lucky.
And keeping that connection of the community, even as you're observing the guidelines of still having that feeling of togetherness.
Yeah, and I think it was healthy and good for the students as well. And you can have some challenges with young kids too that might not have those physical boundaries, but I didn't find that happening. I think that they as well enjoyed being outside, and they adjusted beautifully to the changes that we had to make. So, and I do attribute a lot to the parents for getting their children prepared when we came back in the fall to be in building to be safe and healthy and wear masks and wash. And the families and parents, I attribute a lot of that to them, that it went so smoothly.
There's been several important historical events in my lifetime, in your lifetime. How do you think that this one maybe has felt different or impacted you differently?
It has impacted me personally. I would say I'll switch gears from my profession to my personal life, because I have a 90-year-old mother who I haven't, well, I did have one visit last spring at a distance with her, but I haven't been able to give her a hug for almost a year. That has been a big challenge. I mean, we Skype, she's gotten better at technology too now, because we do get on. So that's been difficult for me. Getting together with my family, it just, we haven't had our gatherings that we always had. That's been difficult for me this past year. I really miss that, and I'm really looking forward to when we can safely have a family reunion again. But I did also, I have to say, another silver lining is that I had a granddaughter born last March, right at the beginning of this.
Oh my goodness.
I know, it was wonderful. Right at the beginning, I was lucky enough that I think if she'd been born a week later, I would not have been able to be at the birth. Only, I don't, nobody could go in, but I was able to be there at the birth. And then after that, they were more restricted in the hospitals. But it has given me an opportunity when I'm teaching remotely to help with my granddaughter and to be there and to see her more. So, so I have spent time with her, been able to help my daughter who's was working as well, and see her frequently and grow up in this past 10 months. So, so there's losses and there's some gains in some ways, but I think that's the biggest thing is the not being able to see my family and be.
How do you think you might, when she grows, tell her the story of 2020?
Yeah, that's going to be something that is going to be historical for her, to have been born. And she, unfortunately, there's so many people that haven't been able to see her and meet her, including her great-grandmother, my mother, who sees her often on Skype, but it's not the same, and wants to hug her and give her a kiss and hold her. So we look forward to that day. But so she's had a very different world these past, 10 months. Is just not being able to go out, not being able to see as many people or visit or even go to a store. But she's doing beautifully. And yeah, I think what I'm pleased with him and what I will talk to her about is that we had so much time to connect, because I was able to spend time with her, and some of my teaching I was able to do while I was with her. And so we were able to really have special connection
That's a gift.
this year. Yeah, that probably wouldn't have happened as much had I had been working in the building all those months. So.
After coming through this long year with all these transitions and losses and fears, and now being in this place of there's hope on the horizon, there's new life, there's connections still being made, we're finding a way. What have you found that's given you hope or comfort as you look to the future?
I have found that there is hope with the vaccine. I've received my first vaccine.
Congratulations.
I feel safer. Yep, I've got my second appointment. I feel safer, and ironically today, my mother is getting her first vaccine shot. Probably already did this morning. So I feel like she gets that, I get that, we get a little bit safer. We'll be able to, be able to see each other and be in the same room and space with each other. So I look forward to that. And I look forward to everybody just being able to feel safer and be relaxed. And I feel for the people that have lost people. I think at this point, almost everybody knows somebody who's lost someone due to this disease. And I just feel for the people that lost people, then they weren't able to be with them at the end. And that just really is sad. Yeah. So I'm hopeful that we're on the up and getting people vaccinated, and we can beat this thing.
That's right. If you could go back and tell yourself 1 year ago something, the Trish from today to the Trish from 1 year ago, to carry you through, what would it be?
What would it be? I guess I think I have changed. I think I'm grateful for what I have. I am grateful that I have the job I have. I'm grateful that my students are safe and their families have been safe. I'm grateful for the precautions that the people have taken. Yeah. I'm really grateful, and that I feel like I think that's the thing. You look back and you just say, this could have. It was traumatic for a lot of people and terrible for a lot of people. So I'm grateful that I'm where I am today.
And we're very grateful for you too, for standing in the front lines. Early childhood education, so valuable in so many ways. And thank you for bringing that hope and that connection to the little ones.
You're welcome. Yeah.
And as we close, is there anything else you'd like to add?
I don't think so.
Well, thank you for sharing your story.
Yeah, yes. I appreciate what you're doing. It's wonderful to hear people's stories and
spanning generations. It really is. Thank you for giving us a glimpse into your life, and thank you on behalf of the New Hampshire Humanities Collaborative, and have a wonderful and warm winter day.